Hello gamers, I'm NKZL, and in this video we will be discussing the widely spread myth that pay to win kills MMORPGs. We sadly see MMORPGs fail and shut down from time to time, and often enough when there is a pay to win element of any sort, it will be very vocally blamed for the failure. On top of this, when any new MMORPG gets released, a vocal part of the MMORPG community will claim the worst the moment they sniff any sort of pay-to-win elements. In this video, we will be looking into the claim that pay-to-win kills MMORPGs and see if it holds any relevance. Before I begin, I would like to ask you to drop a like and subscribe if you find this video interesting or want to support the channel. The first thing we need to do is ask ourselves why this might be of interest and why it is relevant. So, to answer this question, we go back to the fact that this is a widely spread opinion, to the point where some people claim it as a fact. If you claim this as a fact and it is true, then there is no problem. But if you claim this as a fact and it is untrue, it will devalue any other valid point that you are trying to put across, or in the worst case scenario, it will make them irrelevant. If you're someone that doesn't claim either way, this subject might still be of interest to you, especially if you're looking to try a new MMORPG and you're worried about the longevity of it because of the pay-to-win model. If you are someone that argues one point or another, I will have to assume that you are trying to put a point across, that you are trying to enact change, and you are not just wasting your time. I will have to assume that you are trying to convince someone else of your opinions, be it another player, or hoping that your message reaches relevant individuals that can do something about it, like the developers or publishers of a game. So, in my personal opinion, making sure that the facts that you present are correct should be the first step towards reaching your goal. For this video to make any sense, we also have to define what pay to win is, because it might mean something different for everyone. The simplest and most straightforward way to define it would be to say that pay to win is the ability to pay real-life currency to obtain advantages in a video game. We will obviously not be focusing on extremes such as having a better computer, internet connection, or the ability to real money trade with a third party. On the same train of thought, we will not be considering purchasing access to the game through a box price, subscription, expansion, or DLC as pay to win. I know some people do, but for the sake of this video I will not. I will be focusing on the ability to purchase advantages within the confines of the game. So, from my point of view, the easiest way for us to determine if pay to win is killing MMORPGs is to take a look at the most successful MMORPGs out there and see if they employ pay to win models or not, and how many of them do, and how are these pay to win elements implemented. Another thing that I feel it needs to be addressed is that pay to win for progression in general is a silly thing to do, especially in MMORPGs, because most MMORPGs are games about progression and the satisfaction you get for doing so. Regardless of that, right now we are discussing if you can pay to win and not if it's counterproductive doing so, or the reason some people care more about the victory screen than the process it took them to get there. The following MMORPGs are in no particular order, I just put them on the list as they came to mind. This will be a bit of a long list, so I will try to go through it as quickly as possible and stay on point, so forgive me if I don't go into too much detail for each game, because I feel it would make the video much longer with no real purpose. World of Warcraft. It has a box price, expansion cost, and a forced subscription. You can exchange real-life currency to gold using the subscription token. You can use that gold to pay players for any drop in any dungeon or raid. So in conclusion, it has a heavy pay-to-win element. Final Fantasy XIV. It has a box price, expansion cost, and a forced subscription. The only thing that can be considered pay-to-win are the boosts, but they are only impactful if you hate the story, which is arguably one of the best parts of the game. But if you only want to play the game for the dungeons and raids, they can be used to catch up to others quickly. So we can conclude that this might be considered pay to win, but it is extremely mild to the point that I personally would not actually consider it pay to win. There are those that do, so I feel like it needed to be mentioned. New World. It has a box price, and so far the only expansion was completely free. This MMORPG has absolutely no pay to win whatsoever. RuneScape. It's free to play with an optional sub that is more or less needed to enjoy the full experience. You can convert real-life cash into game currency, and there are some elements within the cash shop that will be considered pay to win until endgame. So we can conclude that there is a heavy pay to win element. Elder Scrolls Online. It has a box price, expansions, DLCs, and an optional subscription. The optional subscription offers many benefits, but it is not mandatory unless you want to become a crafter. The cash shop offers small convenience items, but they can be obtained in-game, so it can be considered a mild form of pay-to-win. Black Desert Online. It has a box price and an optional subscription. The cash shop offers no convenience items and even the option to pay to win for someone willing to drop tens of thousands of dollars. While the game can be played without touching the cash shop and would be an enjoyable experience, the option for pay to win is there, so it can be considered a game with heavy amounts of pay to win. Lost Ark. It's a free-to-play game with an optional subscription. The cash shop offers you a lot of convenience items and allows you to convert real-life currency to in-game gold, which can be used to further progress your character, so we can consider it a heavy pay-to-win game. Guild Wars 2. It's a free-to-play game with expansions that you need to pay for. The cash shop has a massive amount of convenience and you can exchange real-life currency for in-game gold, which can be used to purchase legendary weapons and materials for other legendary items. These legendary items are the best type of equipment in-game, so we can determine that Guild Wars 2 has a heavy pay-to-win element. EVE Online. It's a free-to-play game with an optional subscription that is needed to access the full game. Real-life currency again can be converted into game currency, which can be used to progress, so we can say that EVE Online has heavy pay-to-win elements. Albion Online. It's a free-to-play game with an optional subscription, and you can convert real-life currency into game currency, which can be used to upgrade your equipment. As previously stated, this is what we considered heavy pay-to-win. I can go on with other popular or less popular MMORPGs, but I feel like these titles put the point across, and adding more to the list will be more of the same, with the ratio of MMORPGs with mild to non-existing pay-to-win becoming worse and worse with each MMORPG added to the list. Alright, so to add all this up, we have New World, which is the only MMORPG with absolutely no pay-to-win, and we have Final Fantasy with a very mild form of pay-to-win, and Elder Scrolls Online, which has mild pay-to-win. But both these titles can be disregarded as pay-to-win, to be honest. Other than this, every single other MMORPG on the list and almost all other MMORPGs out there will have various degrees of pay-to-win. So we are getting a pretty obvious conclusion. Pay-to-win clearly does not kill MMORPGs. It seems to be the preferred monetization for MMORPGs, as various MMORPGs without pay-to-win are now dead or sadly faded into obscurity. This could be the end of the video, but we're not done yet, because this would be a pretty shitty ending and we cannot just leave it at that. After the short description of pay to win in each game, I'm sure some people are already preparing their dueling glove, ready to slap me and challenge me in the comments below, telling me how their favorite MMORPG has no pay to win because of various reasons. But instead of that, why not look at things objectively and admit that yes, it does, and decide what degree of pay to win you are comfortable with. What degree of pay to win does not subtract from the enjoyment of the game. What becomes unacceptable for me is when developers create problems in-game just to sell the solution in the cash shop, and I strongly believe that this kind of pay-to-win is the one that will inevitably lead to the death of an MMORPG. To better understand what I'm referring to, I'll give two examples. First one would be Arcade. Because of the way gear and open-world PvP were set up, pay-to-win was a barrier that stopped most people from finding any joy in the game, and ultimately it resulted in its death. The second example would be Black Desert Online. It launched globally in December 2014, and for the first few years of its existence, it employed the toxic kind of pay-to-win. This ultimately resulted in the game almost dying. However, before it was too late, they started to slowly change from the model where they made it inconvenient to play the game to a model where the game was fun to play without needing the cash shop, and if you wanted to purchase stuff from the cash shop, you would do so for the extra convenience. This took a few years, but it resulted in the game becoming one of the most successful MMORPGs today. I strongly believe the game would have been much more successful if they done this from the start, because even now it has a reputation of having terrible pay to win, despite it not being the case anymore. What I'm trying to put across using all these examples is that us as a community, even if sometimes it doesn't feel like it, we have a lot more agency in how these systems are designed, and even if you might not like the current situation, it's just the result of what the majority of gamers find acceptable. You'll only be able to see this if you take a step back and look at the situation over the years. You will be able to see that a lot of MMORPGs that failed had pay-to-win systems that were intertwined with the game systems to a degree that made these games not fun to play without the pay-to-win element. And the other MMORPGs that failed and were not pay-to-win was probably because they were not fun to play. From my point of view, all this means that MMORPGs need to be designed independent of the cash shop. They need to be fun to play even if the cash shop would be removed altogether. If that is the case, it seems to me that people will put up with whatever form of pay-to-win the developers choose to use, even if they offer direct, real-life cash to in-game currency, which is the highest form of pay-to-win. So in conclusion, even the highest form of pay-to-win in itself will not kill MMORPGs. It only starts doing so when the pay-to-win design interferes with the enjoyment of the game in a toxic way. Please let me know in the comment section what you think of this subject and what your interpretation of the situation is, and even what you think of this kind of videos where we dissect different problems. Thanks for watching. If you found this video interesting or want to support the channel, you know what you have to do. See you in the next one, gamers!